The college football playoffs kick off this weekend. Drew Allar is right now my third highest graded quarterback of the 2025 NFL draft class. Will he be my top guy in the college football playoffs? The answer is yes. I'm going to explain that and more coming up next.
You are Locked On NFL Draft, your daily podcast covering the NFL Draft. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Locked On family? Welcome back to the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast, your daily podcast covering your favorite draft prospects, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your boy, Damian Parson. You can find and follow me on X at DP_NFL. I'm a senior draft analyst, and thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day. Shout out for being our everydayers. Guys, listen, we have a fun show. We're going to talk about the top 10 quarterbacks or the 10 starting quarterbacks, even Gunnar Stockton, who's expected to replace Carson Beck for Georgia. We're going to talk about these 10 quarterbacks and rank them 1 to 10 if they were draftable prospects. We're going to talk about that in just a moment, guys. But you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 back in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Drew Allar, quarterback from Penn State, 6'5", 235 pounds on the season. He's completed 69% of his passes for 21 passing touchdowns. He has 7 interceptions, including the Big Ten championship game against Oregon. He's thrown for almost 2,900 yards passing this season, and that's all while having a very lackluster crew supporting him for the Nittany Lions. He is my third highest graded quarterback. Yes, Drew Allar out of Penn State is my QB3 if he were to declare for the 2025 NFL Draft. When you have that size, the combination of size, arm talent, he's a good athlete. You're talking about you can extend the playbook with him, especially in the red zone where you can run QB powers. You can do the things we've seen with like the Josh Allens and stuff like that. Yes, he can do those things. He has all of the physical tools. We talk about trucks, hitches, and trailers on this pod multiple times over the last 2 draft cycles, guys. Me and Keith. And whatever we talked about it. And when I look at Drew Allar, I see a guy that has the traits, the body, the frame, everything that you need to be a truck. Okay? He has all the things to be a truck, to pull. And I said this on my YouTube channel, the scouting room. What did we learn about watching Bryce last year? Now, he's played better ball for the most part this year, but what did we learn last year is that a guy with limited physical tools can't be expected to carry an NFL franchise. You can't expect a Prius to carry, all of the things you need to build a house. The brick, right? The everything, the wood, the foundation, all of the 2x4s, the drills, all that stuff. You can't expect a Prius to carry that. You can't even hook a Prius up to a wagon to carry all of that. You need to have the frame and physical ability, right? So I look at a Drew Allar, and I've watched him play good ball this season. Yes, he's got some turnovers. Yes, he has some young, as I say, rookie mistakes in a sense, right? Because he's still a young player, and they put a lot on him to make sure this team is successful. You take Drew Allar off this Penn State offense, and it does not look nearly enough the same. Right? Vastly different if you take some of these other quarterbacks off of their teams and put them in Penn State. It's like, how well do you look? So Drew Allar is my QB3, and he's my number 1 QB heading into, talking about as a prospect, heading into the college football playoffs. But number 2 right now, it would have been Carson Beck at the particular moment, right? But Carson Beck got hurt in the SEC championship game, and it does not sound good from the reports I've read. I don't know if we see him. I think he's going to be replaced by Gunnar Stockton, who I'll talk about later on in the show and to close it out. It's Dillon Gabriel. Right now, Dillon Gabriel for Oregon has been playing absolutely especially in the Big Ten championship game on the season. Dillon Gabriel's completing 72.6, over 72.5% completion percentage of his passes being completed. He's averaging almost 9 yards per attempt, 28 passing touchdowns, 6 interceptions, 3,555 yards passing, right? But he also will run the ball. Also, the same thing with Drew Allar. These guys Drew Allar's a much better athlete, but in a bigger body and everything like that. But still yet, you have 7 rushing touchdowns from Dillon Gabriel on this season. So I can't be mad at it, man. And Dylan Gabriel is going to be he's probably what, 5'11", 200 pounds, and he's arm talent is going to be probably average, right? He's not going to check the box for everybody. But in this playoffs and everything else, like the same thing with Drew Allar had 6 rushing touchdowns as well. Like for me, when I look at Dylan Gabriel, I think that he can help himself be a late day 3 pick. Again, we talk about this, guys. What has Bryce Young playing better ball helps a Dylan Gabriel. Brock Purdy being who Brock Purdy has become under Kyle Shanahan helps Dylan Gabriel. Kyler Murray being at times a game changer and different things like that for the Arizona Cardinals and being their franchise guy, the way he's played helps a Dylan Gabriel. It helps a guy like Dylan Gabriel get drafted earlier than he would have been drafted 10, 12, 15 years ago. And I think the way he can play, and again, you watch him in that Big Ten championship game, he was surgical. He was balling out of his mind. He was making plays. He was playing with outstanding instincts and feel and everything else. And his ability to make plays and throws on the run, out of the pocket, off script, out of structure. Yes, see, the thing with Dylan Gabriel, and the thing also that you have to think about with all these quarterbacks, is it's easier for a guy like him to transition into the league from a pocket passing standpoint, because it's more so, well, with Dylan, he is accustomed to, he's more of an advanced passer. He's seen the coverages, different things like that, a lot of starts, right? And he could play on time, play on schedule. And then he can play off time, off schedule, right? Those type of things. Whereas you look at, like, you think about the Jalen Milrose, playing on schedule is not his strength. Using his legs, that's his strength. But at the end of the day, it's a little more uphill climb for him because he's not a refined passer, even though he's played the time that he's played. He's still growing and developing, right? So again, the ceiling, that's what Keith likes the floor. I like the ceiling. I'd rather draft a Jalen Milroe, sit him behind a wily vet, and let him learn, and then my QB coach develop him. But nonetheless, I think Dylan Gabriel is a guy that you look at. He is my QB2 right now in the CFP. Because remember, my actual QB1 and 2, Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders, they weren't able to, their teams did not play well enough to get them, especially late in the season, to get them in the CFP. Number 3 is Cade Klubnik from Clemson. Again, toolsy young man, dual threat guy, that track background, that rushing ability, good arm talent. He can whiz passes with nice zip and velocity right past the ear hole of second level defenders. And if you don't change the picture on Cade Klubnik post snap, he can slice and dice you up. He can be surgical, everything from the pocket, on the move, all of it, guys. And I just look at him and the guy, what he's been able to do this season. And he's had some, he's had some blunders. Don't get me wrong. He's had some games where he's like, man, Cade, like the Georgia games out, to start the season and stuff like that, right? I think it was the Louisville game was not great at all. It was not great. But against SMU, he was 24-41. Yes, the completion percentage. And I get the completion percentage. It's such a trending topic for certain players. I mean, at the end of the day, man, did you win the game? He completed 58.5% of his passes for 261 yards passing, but he also had 4 passing touchdowns in that game. SMU did a good job taking away the explosives, and that's a big thing for him. Like in that game, he also had 30 rushing yards off of 11 attempts. So again, when I look at Cade Klubnik, I look at Dylan Gabriel and Drew Allar, I say that right now these are guys that I think Dylan Gabriel playing his best ball, to me, secures a national championship for Oregon. Because if he's playing his best ball like he did in the Big Ten championship game, not even a team like Georgia, I don't think anybody can match up with them and knock them off if he's on his game. I do think Cade Klubnik, if he's on his game and that defense plays up to their talent and they can get the run game going, Clemson's my dark horse in the CFP. And of course, if Drew Allar had a little bit more help, man, if he had a little bit more help, I'm telling you, all bets are off. He can make some noise, but that's my top 3 QBs. Like I said, no Carson Beck because of the injury. That's my top 3 QBs. What does 4, 5, and 6 look like? Well, stay tuned. We'll talk about that coming up next. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Guys, during the holidays, man, I love to sit down at night and watch holiday movies with my family. I have a 4-year-old son, and he is heavily invested. He is locked in, and he loves all of the Home Alones. 1, 2, and 3, the classics. So that type of stuff is what brings me joy and happiness during the holiday season. For some people stay cozy by wrapping up in a blanket with a nice mug of hot chocolate and watching their favorite movies as well, but also wrapping gifts, going out and shopping for others. Therapy is a great way to bring yourself some comfort that never goes away. If you've been thinking about starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's convenient. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient and flexible and suited to your schedule. Find comfort this December with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/lockedon today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon. It's that time of the year. The college football playoff is back, and the newly expanded 12-team format is guaranteed to be bigger and better than ever, bringing you all the hard-hitting and high-flying excitement that you love. TNT Sports coverage of the college football playoff begins December 21st, starting with the college football playoff kickoff show presented by AT&T at 11 a.m. Eastern, leading into our first matchup, the Southern Methodist University Mustangs battling the Penn State Nittany Lions at noon. Then the Clemson Tigers look to upset the Texas Longhorns in a showdown at 4 p.m. Eastern. Don't miss a moment of the action. Watch the college football playoff presented by Allstate live on TNT, True TV, TBS, and Max. QBs 4, 5, and 6 in my top 10 QBs discussion for the CFP college football playoffs. Guys, this name might shock you a little bit. Riley Leonard from Notre Dame. Yes, I think I talked about him last week. And guys, this is no joke. I like what I saw on tape from Riley Leonard. Now, similar to Drew Allard, is he in a very substance-driven and talent-driven passing offense in terms of receivers? No, not really. Mitchell Evans, his tight end, is solid, but he's a day 3 pick in my opinion. Riley Leonard, 6'4", 216, completing 66% of his passes for a little over 2,000 yards passing, 16 passing touchdowns, 5 interceptions. But then also you get the dual threat ability of a Riley Leonard. He's rushed for 117 carries, 117 rush attempts, 764 yards rushing, 14 rushing touchdowns, guys. 14 rushing touchdowns to go with his 16 passing touchdowns. He's accounted for 30 total touchdowns for Notre Dame's offense, for the Fighting Irish. I think that he has a chance. He has a nice matchup against, well, my next guy. I'll talk about him in a second. He got a matchup against Curtis Rourke in Indiana to kick off the CFP on Friday night. We'll preview that game, by the way, later this week, okay? I think it's on Wednesday. We'll preview that game. Get you prepared, get you ready, get you going for it when Keith is back on the show. But nonetheless, guys, we are going to talk about all that. And I look at that game, Riley Leonard has a chance. Now, again, the winner of that goes to play Georgia, who gets to sit and watch, okay? Riley Leonard has a chance to boost his draft stock. His arm talent is good. Is it great? I don't think it's elite by any means. I don't think it's top tier or upper echelon. I think it's really good. I think it's good. He has enough. He has more than enough, in my opinion, more than enough. It's not just functional. It's not just sufficient. It's successful. He has a successful NFL arm. He can drive throws. He's one of the better deep throwers, more underrated deep ball throwers in college football in this 2025 NFL draft class. I think when he's locked in, guys, and he's playing on time and in rhythm, oh yeah, man, like he knows how to manipulate coverages with his eyes. He'll pump fake you, get through his reads, things of that nature. And with his rushing ability, this is how you make yourself an ultimate game changer in the CFP. And then with that performance, you open more eyes for the casual fan, for draft fans and draft analysts and everything, for draft analysis, but also the NFL talent evaluators, the scouts themselves, as well as their GMs and scouting directors. So I look at Riley Leonard. Yes, he has a lot of tools. Like I said, that dual threat ability. Dual threat ability. He is my QB4 right now in the CFP. I think I'm looking at him. The spotlight's on him. I think a big run or a nice showing, whether it's against Indiana, the win or loss, doesn't really tell. To me, the wins and losses don't matter as much. It's how you perform. If your team loses on a 3-second field goal, or you know what I mean, or last second field goal, but you were 25 of 30 for 310 yards, 4 passing touchdowns, and a rushing touchdown, no turnovers, and you were accurate, making the right decision, so forth and so on, yes, that's going to look good on you. The dub and the win or the loss doesn't really matter in the eyes of the NFL as much. It's more so, what did you do to contribute to your team having success, or did you contribute to their detriment and their downfall? Curtis Rourke from Indiana, like I said, him and Riley Leonard faces off, to kick off the CFP. And when I look at Curtis Rourke, I told you guys, if you follow me on Twitter, also follow me on Blue Sky. You know what I mean? DP_NFL on there as well. Curtis Rourke, I've talked about it. I can't quit him. 6'5", 223. I got him as a top of the 4th round quarterback, right? He's in that range of that Aiden O'Connell. He's got some functional pocket movement skills. He is tall, right? He's a tall guy, tall drink of water, 6'5", 225. Good arm, not great. I think it's good. Again, it's sufficient, more than sufficient, above average and everything. But this is a guy that plays on time. He's a timing and rhythm quarterback, pocket quarterback, throws with anticipation, timing, touch, ball placement, accuracy. That's where he wins. He wins from the neck up. He wins from the mental and from the visual with his eyes. He knows how to find the weak spots and the weak points. And for him, a big thing in this game, Notre Dame have a pass rush. He's going to need to make sure, and I'm not previewing the game, and then we'll do that later on this week. But I think for Curtis Rourke, it's just making everybody forget about the Ohio State game. Make them forget about the Michigan and Ohio State game. He didn't play relatively well in either game, right? Between the two games, he threw 2 touchdowns and an interception. He threw for 200 and I'll probably say 74 total yards. That's because against Ohio State, he was 8 for 18 for 68 yards. He was heavily pressured in that game. Notre Dame can get in the backfield. So what does he need to do is prove that the pressure doesn't burst pipes for him. He has to answer that bell. And I think that's going to be a big thing for him in the CFP. So again, for me, I think as a prospect, day 3 type of guy, top end of the 4th right now. But what if he goes and balls out and has a good game and handles pressure well, slide, evade, climb the pocket, find throwing lanes? He's 6'5". He can clearly see over the line of scrimmage. Finding passing lanes shouldn't be a problem, but how do you negotiate free runners? How do you negotiate pressures? He done some good things early in the season. Look at the UCLA game and different games like that where he had a free runner. He stood tall. He delivered the ball, took the hit. It didn't matter. What can you do in the CFP, Curtis Rourke? But right now, he is my number 5, my 5th overall quarterback. Number 6. Number 4 is Riley Leonard. Number 5 is Curtis Rourke. Number 6 is Quinn Ewers out of Texas. Quinn, truthfully, should be the guy that's, honestly, if he heard this and he felt disrespected, I wouldn't blame him. 6'2", 210. He was supposed to be the second coming of touchdown Jesus in a sense. That was Trevor Lawrence, but he was supposed to be the second coming of Trevor Lawrence. I'm just saying the way that people talked about him. He was the number 1 rated prospect coming out of high school. He was number 1 rated quarterback coming out of high school per 24/7 Sports. He was supposed to be that guy. So when I look at Quinn Ewers, yes, Quinn Ewers should be in the top 3. He should be in the first topic I talked about. The 1, 2, and 3, the first, second, and third quarterbacks, he should be in that discussion. But he has not played consistent enough. He has not played with any type of control. I look at Quinn Ewers. I go back to that Michigan game. And I said, man, this is like Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. What did Eminem say in the 90s, early 2000s? Will the real Slim Shady please stand up? Will the real Quinn Ewers please stand up, right? And I talked to a friend of mine, scouting buddy of mine, and he said, man, I don't know what to do with Quinn Ewers. He said, I want to give him a day 2 grade, but the way he's played like a top of the 4th guy. And I do not disagree. I don't disagree. That's around that place that I have Quinn Ewers right now. Arm talent is above average. He's a functional, above average athlete. But when it comes time to take over games, or when you given the ball multiple times in the Georgia game, that should have been a blowout win for them. Georgia, even with Carson Beck, couldn't score. You should have at least had 17, 24, whatever points. You should, I mean, I know they missed a couple field goals, but he should have taken a stronger hold on that game. Quinn Ewers didn't do that. And that was a big time problem, a big time concern. And I'm sorry, that's an issue. So when I look at Quinn Ewers, that's what I think about, guys. I look at Quinn Ewers from the aspect of, hey, talented guy, can be that point guard style quarterback. He's coming in at 6 for me. He comes in at 6 for me right now simply because he has not shown me that he has that, not dog in him. He doesn't have that killer in him. He hasn't shown me that. I need to see that from Quinn Ewers, right? If it's against Clemson and that defense, show me you got that killer instinct. Show me that if you get the chance to put your foot on their back, you will step over them and walk to victory. You will create a path for your team to coast. If Cade Klubnik is struggling, can you get it done? That's my issue with Quinn, is when the game is there for him to take over, take control, and put up points, he's not doing it against good competition. So that's quarterbacks 4, 5, and 6. We're going to close this thing out with 7, 8, 9, and 10. That and more coming up next. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 back in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch or an urge in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Guys, to get in on the action, it's simple. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Again, you'll get started with $150 back in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. To get in on the action is simple. Again, just visit FanDuel.com to join today. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day. Shout out for being our every day is QB 7, 8, 9, and 10 of the CFP. Number 7, Will Howard. Number 8, Kevin Jennings from SMU. So Will Howard, number 7 from Ohio State. Kevin Jennings, number 8 from SMU. Number 9, Maddox Madsen from Boise. And number 10, Gunnar Stockton from Georgia. Well, Will Howard, there's no excuse. Right? Well, correction. The offensive line is banged up. The offensive line is taking a hit this year, right? With multiple injuries and then guys playing out of position. Donovan Jackson, for whatever reason, I feel like you probably have a better tackle, like even though they're young, that you could just play at left tackle to be the blindside protector and let Donovan Jackson be his bumper, his inside track guy, and make sure that any movements, any rushers trying to cross face and work the inside plane and inside shoulder will run into a Donovan Jackson. But they have him playing left tackle, hopefully with 2 weeks or so, multiple weeks actually, after week 13. So they've had about 3 weeks, maybe 3.5, in a sense, to get prepared for this. How about let's go ahead, I'll say 2.5 weeks. Let's go ahead and get prepared. And let's start somebody else at tackle. But I think with Will Howard, if the offensive line gives him time, run this offense, take over, make big-time throws, make big-time plays in a big-time game. You need to see these type of things. When you're 6'5", 6'4", 6'5", I think is where he's listed as and everything. I'll double-check right now. He's got good arm talent, right? He's got nice arm talent. He's 6'4", 235. Good arm talent. He is mobile, similar to Drew Allar. When you get in the red zone, you can run that QB power stuff. He, just like Drew Allar, he's athletic enough to use his legs and get out of trouble. That's his get out of trouble free card, where he can use his legs, extend plays, work outside the pocket, and keep his eyes down the field. Down the field, when he's throwing down the field, he throws with good touch and arc. right? Nice air underneath his throws. He's not beaming and trying to strong arm everything. His ability to create, throw it and generate velocity on throws between the numbers, he has that as well. And again, he can make plays inside and outside the structure. I just need Will Howard to play high level football. Like right now, I have him as a 4th round prospect. You know, what I mean, like mid to 4th round, I believe. He's a day 3 guy, but he has the tools to be a back end of the 3rd, right? I think Stetson Bennett was a 4th round guy. Tools are not there. Aiden O'Connell, tools are not there. Like we've seen multiple guys. Matt Corral went 3rd, right? Like I'm just saying, like I think he can go back into the 3rd round if he plays well, if he plays better. When you have um you have a Meke Buka, when you have Carnell Tate, when you have Quinshawn Judkins and Travion Henderson and Jeremiah Smith, when you have all of them, Chip Kelly has to call better games. I agree, but it's enough out there. It's enough talent for him for Will Howard to make plays, and he needs to do that. Kevin Jennings for SMU, man, this is an exciting player. I like watching him. He's undersized. He's undersized for sure. And everything, 6 foot, 185. But yeah, I don't care. You know what I mean? I do not care, about the size nearly as much. He reminds me a little bit of Tyler Huntley. I think Tyler, he's with the Miami Dolphins. Tyler's a little bit taller. I think he's like 6'1", 205, but similar builds, in my opinion, similar statures, similar games. Like I said, Huntley's he has a little bit more muscle, a little bit more mass on his frame. But Jennings is a guy, this season, 22 passing touchdowns, over 3,000 yards passing, 8, interceptions, but also he's added over 400 yards rushing as well and 5 more touchdowns. So this is a guy I think, he's a redshirt sophomore. I don't expect him to come out. I think he's going to go back to school, get another full year as a starter, and that I would advise him to. But he's a good player, man, and he's kind of like one of the half of the engine. It's him and Brashard Smith are the 2 pieces of the engine right now, the 2 halves of the engine for SMU's offense. And I just look at the situation like, man, if these guys, we saw what he was able to do, right? We saw what Kevin Jennings was able to do against Clemson. He was 33 of 52, 63.5% completion percentage, 314 yards passing. He had 3 passing touchdowns. He did have an interception. He had 3 passing touchdowns. He also had a rushing touchdown. So 4 rushing touchdowns in that game. He was a big part of that comeback that they nearly took it to overtime. Against Clemson. So, yeah, I think Kevin Jennings, good player, dual threat guy. Just, again, you just have to understand what you're getting into with him. And for him, like, hey, I'm not really, even if you're not coming out in this class, right, what are you going to do? You're preparing yourself for next year. You're giving yourself a runway for next year with a strong performance. Maddox Madsen for Boise State, 5'10", 201. Guy has 1 more year of eligibility. He ended up beating out Malachi Nelson, the 5-star recruit for the starting QB job. And he has, thrown the ball, over 300 attempts, right? Even with Ashton Genty, 62% completion, 2,700 yards, 27 and 10. So basically 2,710 yards passing, almost, about 7.5 yards per attempt, 22 passing touchdowns, only 3 interceptions. So he hasn't turned the ball over, but he has put it in harm's way. But I think for him right now, it's just like, hey, you're just supposed to be the complementary piece. And if he can do that, it tells a team, hey, teams that, you think about the Kyle Shanahans, like those coaches who, yeah, I'm not looking for the most tools he got. I'm not looking for the guy to elevate everyone and carry the team. I just need you to run the offense. Can you do that, right? If we give you play action, some bootleg stuff, tell you to run, use your legs, can you do that, right? And I think he can. So he comes in at 9. I'm not expecting him to wow me or do anything incredible. It's just a simple fact that that's what, he has a solid skill set. Like I said, it's just you don't expect him, especially with the height and weight and everything, you don't expect him to be a dude for a team, but solid player, can get some things done. He's gritty, he's grimy, he's a gamer. All the cliches that we say about those type of quarterbacks, those type of prospects, yeah, it all fits. Gunnar Stockton closing it up, 6'1", 215. Came in as a reserve, led Georgia to their first scoring touchdown drive in that game. He was 12 of 16, 71 yards, 70 yards passing, 75% completion percentage, but he averaged less than 4.5 yards per attempt, and he threw an interception. He took a massive hit from Andrew Makuba. You know what I mean? The 6 carries, 26 yards. He had that fumble and everything, but he was going to put it on the line, and you got to appreciate that. I think it's an opportunity for him to pretty much tell the coach staff, Mike Bobo, the OC for Georgia, and Kirby Smart that, hey, I'm the guy. Okay, I am the guy that you want to put as your quarterback next year, and not one of the young 4 or 5 star guys that are behind me. So I think for Gunnar Stockton, it's going to be big for him. His legs, he's athletic. He's got a good arm, right? He can drive throws. We saw that. Now it's just, okay, what does the game plan look like with him as the full-time starter? Can he make throws and plays that Carson Beck wasn't able to make? We'll see. But, guys, that's it. That's the 10 quarterbacks. I ranked them from 1 to 10. Drew Allar, Dylan Gabriel, Cade Klubnik, Riley Leonard, Curtis Rorick, Quinn Ewers, Will Howard, Kevin Jennings, Maddox Madsen, and Gunnar Stockton, because he hasn't started or played much football. But those are the 10 quarterbacks. If they were all draft eligible, how I would rank them heading into the CFP. Go subscribe and follow for free on YouTube, wherever you listen to podcasts, to get the latest episode as soon as it is available. Thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day. Shout out for being our everydayers. Guys, on tomorrow's show, I'm getting into Ashton Genty's game, getting ready for the college football playoffs, but more so, what are some of the best landing spots for him? What are the teams, those RB needy teams? Do you take him or do you take the field? We're going to have a running back discussion on tomorrow's show, but that is coming up on tomorrow. So come and join the conversation again tomorrow on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.